The Zintrex building towered over the city like a monument to human ambition. Its sleek glass facade reflected the rising sun, casting golden light across the surrounding skyscrapers. Inside, on the 73rd floor, Ethan Marshall waited in an examination room, staring at his reflection in the polished metal table. A 35-year-old biomedical engineer with a respectable career at Zintrex, he had dedicated his life to pushing the boundaries of human enhancement. Today, those boundaries would be pushed further than ever before. The door slid open with a soft hiss, and Jennifer Chen walked in, her white lab coat perfectly pressed, her tablet clutched to her chest like a shield. "Good morning, Ethan," she said, her voice clinical but with a hint of concern beneath it. "Are you sure about this? There's still time to back out." Ethan smiled. He'd worked with Jennifer for 3 years on this project. They'd designed the enhancement virus together, tested it on countless cell cultures and lab animals. The results had been beyond anything they'd imagined. "I'm sure," he said. "I helped create this virus. I should be the one to test it." Jennifer nodded, though her brow remained furrowed. "The board has given final approval. You'll be officially designated as Patient Zero in the program." She handed him a digital form. "Sign here, acknowledging the risks." Ethan scanned the document quickly. Potential side effects: nausea, headache, fever, increased metabolism, cognitive alterations, genetic instability, standard warnings for a non-standard procedure. He pressed his thumb to the signature line. "When do we start?" "Right now," Jennifer said, pulling a syringe from her pocket. The clear liquid inside caught the light, seeming to shimmer with possibilities. "This is EV1, the enhancement virus, version 1. It's designed to integrate with your DNA, activating dormant genetic potential and optimizing cellular function." Ethan nodded. He knew the science behind it better than anyone. The virus would target specific genetic markers, enhancing physical and mental capabilities without the unpredictability of conventional genetic modification. At least, that was the theory. "Let's make history," he said, rolling up his sleeve. Jennifer hesitated only a moment before sliding the needle into his arm. The liquid burned as it entered his bloodstream. But Ethan didn't flinch. This was the culmination of years of work, the beginning of a new era for humanity. "Now we wait," Jennifer said, disposing of the syringe. "Initial effects should manifest within 24 hours. You'll stay in the observation suite tonight." Ethan nodded, already feeling a slight tingling sensation spreading from the injection site. "I understand. And Jennifer, thank you for everything." She gave him a tight smile. "Just don't make me regret this." The observation suite was more like a luxury apartment than a medical facility. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the city. Though the glass was one way, no one could see in. Every surface in the room contained sensors monitoring his vital signs, brain activity, and the virus's progression through his system. That night, Ethan slept fitfully, his dreams filled with strange visions of evolution and transformation. He saw himself running across vast plains, swimming through deep oceans, soaring through endless skies. In his dreams, he was more than human. He was humanity's next step forward. When he woke, everything had changed. The world seemed sharper, more vivid. Colors were richer, sounds clearer. He could hear the hum of the air conditioning system, the distant conversations of people floors away. Rising from bed, he felt weightless, powerful. He flexed his arm, watching the muscles ripple beneath his skin. "Incredible," he whispered, his voice sounding different even to his own ears. The bathroom mirror revealed subtle changes. His eyes were brighter, with flecks of gold that hadn't been there before. His skin glowed with health. When he stepped on the scale, he found he'd lost 5 pounds overnight, yet he looked stronger. A knock at the door interrupted his self-examination. Jennifer entered, followed by a team of researchers. Their expressions ranged from excitement to barely concealed anxiety. "How do you feel?" Jennifer asked, approaching him with a medical scanner. "Better than I've ever felt." Ethan replied, "Everything is enhanced. My senses, my strength. I feel like I could run a marathon without breaking a sweat." "Your metabolic rate has increased by 40%, Jennifer said, studying the scanner's readout. Brain activity shows a similar increase. Blood oxygen levels are optimal. These are all expected outcomes. Then why do you look worried?" Jennifer hesitated, glancing at her colleagues. "There are some unexpected genetic markers appearing in your blood work. Nothing concerning yet, but we need to monitor the situation carefully." Ethan nodded, unconcerned. Minor variations were to be expected in any experimental procedure. "When can I return to work?" "That's not advisable at this stage," said a stern voice from the doorway. Dr. Malcolm Reeves, Zintrex's director of research, strode into the room. Tall and imposing, with silver hair and cold blue eyes, he had a reputation for brilliance matched only by his ruthlessness. "You'll remain under observation for at least 2 weeks." 2 weeks? Ethan protested. "The protocol only called for 3 days." "The protocol has been amended," Reeves said flatly. "This is uncharted territory. Marshal, we need to proceed with caution." Ethan wanted to argue further, but something in Reeves's expression stopped him. There was a calculating look in the older man's eyes that Ethan had never noticed before. "Fine," he conceded. 2 weeks. The observation period quickly became a blur of tests, examinations, and increasing frustration. Each day brought new changes to Ethan's body and mind. His reflexes became lightning fast. He could solve complex mathematical equations in seconds. His strength continued to grow. He accidentally bent a steel medical instrument when gripping it too hard. But there were other changes too, ones that concerned the research team. His temperature fluctuated wildly. His sleep patterns became erratic. Sometimes he would sit motionless for hours, lost in thought, processing information at speeds that shouldn't have been possible. On the 5th night, Ethan woke from a nightmare, his heart racing. In the dream, he had been running through the Zintrex building, pursued by shadows with Reeves's face. When he looked down at his hands, they weren't hands anymore, but something else, something evolved beyond humanity. Unable to fall back asleep, he went to the window, staring out at the city below. The observation suite was now his prison. He pressed his palm against the glass, feeling the cool surface against his skin. Then, without warning, cracks began to spread from beneath his hand. Ethan jerked back, staring in shock. Had he done that? He touched the glass again, gentler this time, and concentrated. The cracks stopped spreading. Somehow, he had exerted enough pressure to damage reinforced safety glass. He needed to tell Jennifer about this development. But as he reached for the communication panel, another thought surfaced from somewhere deep in his changing mind. What if they see you as a threat? Ethan paused, his finger hovering over the call button. The thought wasn't his own, or at least, it didn't feel like his own, yet it resonated with growing paranoia. Why was Reeves so interested in keeping him isolated? Why the extended observation period? Instead of calling Jennifer, Ethan went to the computer terminal in the room. His access had been restricted, but with his enhanced cognitive abilities, Bypassing the security protocols took only minutes. He navigated through the Zintrex database, searching for files related to the Enhancement virus project. What he found chilled him to the core. There were dozens of test subjects before him, not animals as he'd been told, but humans, volunteers, like him, who had been injected with earlier versions of the virus. The files documented their rapid enhancement, followed by deterioration, madness, and, in many cases, death. The virus had been deemed too unstable, too unpredictable, until version EV1, the one now coursing through Ethan's veins. Further digging revealed Reeves's true intentions for the virus. It wasn't meant to enhance all of humanity. It was designed to create a two-tiered society: the enhanced elite who could afford Zintrex's treatments, and everyone else. And Ethan was just another lab rat in their experiments. A noise in the corridor outside his room snapped him back to awareness. Quickly, he closed the files and cleared his digital footprints. When Jennifer entered a moment later, he was sitting calmly on the edge of his bed. "You're awake early," she observed, setting down her tablet. "How are you feeling?" "Fine," Ethan lied, "just restless." Jennifer studied him with a professional eye. "Your readings were erratic during the night. Did you experience any unusual symptoms?" Ethan thought about the cracked window, now hidden behind the room's automated blinds. "Nothing significant. Some vivid dreams." She nodded, making a note. "That's to be expected. The virus affects neurological pathways, including those involved in dreaming." She hesitated, then added in a lower voice, "Ethan, Dr. Reeves is planning to move you to a more secure facility tomorrow." "Why?" Ethan asked, trying to keep the alarm from his voice. "He's concerned about the pace of your changes. He wants to implement additional monitoring protocols." She glanced toward the door, then back at him. "I don't agree with his methods, but I'm being overruled." Ethan nodded slowly, processing this information. "I understand. Thank you for telling me." After Jennifer left, Ethan's mind raced with possibilities. If Reeves moved him to another facility, he might never leave. He would become just another failed experiment, another footnote in Zintrex's secret files. He had to escape. Tonight. The day passed with excruciating slowness. Ethan submitted to the usual battery of tests, pretending everything was normal. Inside, he was planning, calculating, preparing. By evening, he had formulated a strategy. When night fell and the observation team had reduced to a skeleton crew, Ethan made his move. He disabled the room's monitoring systems by generating a small electromagnetic pulse, a trick he somehow knew how to do without ever having learned it. Then he approached the weakened window. With a focused push, the cracked glass shattered outward. 73 floors up, the wind howled through the opening. Ethan looked down at the dizzying drop, then at his hands. Something told him he could survive the fall. The virus had changed him that much. But before he could jump, the door to his room burst open. Security guards rushed in, followed by Reeves and Jennifer. "Step away from the window. Marshal," Reeves ordered. "You're not thinking clearly." "I'm thinking more clearly than I ever have," Ethan replied, backing closer to the opening. "I know what you've done. The previous test subjects. Your plans for the virus." Jennifer looked confused, turning to Reeves. "What is he talking about?" "Delusions," Reeves said dismissively. "A side effect we anticipated." He signaled to the guards. "Restrain him. Carefully." Ethan tensed as the guards approached. Time seemed to slow down. He could see the minute adjustments in their posture, predict their movements before they made them. When the first guard lunged, Ethan sidestepped with impossible speed, then delivered a precise strike to the man's solar plexus. The guard crumpled. The second guard drew a stun baton, but Ethan was already moving. He grabbed the man's wrist, applying just enough pressure to force him to drop the weapon. Then he pushed, gently by his new standards, sending the guard flying across the room. "My God," Jennifer whispered, staring at Ethan with a mixture of fear and awe. Reeves, however, merely looked calculating. "Impressive," he said. "You've exceeded our projections." "Oh, this ends now," Ethan said, picking up the fallen stun baton. "I'm leaving, and I'm taking all the data on the virus with me." "That would be a mistake." Reeves replied calmly. "You need us. Ethan, the virus is still evolving within you. Without proper monitoring, who knows what you'll become?" A flicker of doubt crossed Ethan's mind. What if Reeves was right? What if the changes became too extreme? But then he remembered the files, the failed test subjects, the plans for a divided society. "I'll take my chances," he said, and lunged toward the computer terminal. Reeves reacted with surprising speed, pulling a small device from his pocket and pressing a button. Immediately, a high-pitched sound filled the room, so intense it felt like needles driving into Ethan's skull. He dropped to his knees, clutching his head. "A sonic disruptor," Reeves explained, approaching cautiously. "Calibrated to affect your enhanced auditory system. One of many contingencies we developed." Through the pain, Ethan looked up at Jennifer. Her expression was horrified, but she made no move to help him. Was she part of this all along? Summoning his remaining strength, Ethan surged to his feet and charged Reeves, knocking the device from his hand. The sonic assault stopped, but two more guards had entered the room. They fired tranquilizer darts that struck Ethan in the chest and neck. He staggered, feeling the powerful sedatives enter his system. His enhanced metabolism would fight them off eventually, but not quickly enough. As darkness crept into the edges of his vision, he made a desperate decision. With the last of his strength, Ethan turned and dove through the broken window. The fall seemed to last forever. Wind rushed past him as the ground approached at terrifying speed. In those moments, something changed within him yet again. He felt his body responding to the imminent threat, altering itself to survive. When he hit the ground, it wasn't with a fatal impact, but with a controlled landing that cracked the pavement beneath him. He had fallen 73 floors and walked away. But he couldn't stop to marvel at this miracle. Already, alarms were blaring throughout the Zintrex building. He had to disappear, moving with preternatural speed. Ethan fled into the labyrinthine streets of the city. His enhanced senses guided him away from security cameras and patrol drones. By dawn, he had reached the outskirts, where the gleaming towers gave way to the crumbling infrastructure of the Undercity. Here, among the forgotten and marginalized, Ethan found temporary refuge. He holed up in an abandoned maintenance tunnel, trying to process everything that had happened. His body continued to change. The tranquilizers had worn off quickly, but they had triggered something unexpected. His skin had developed a subtle, chameleon-like ability to shift its coloration, helping him blend with his surroundings. For 3 days, Ethan remained hidden, venturing out only for food and water. His metabolism now required massive caloric intake. He could feel the virus rewriting his DNA, pushing his evolution in directions never intended by Zintrex's scientists. On the 4th day, he sensed someone following him. Moving through the Undercity's market district, he caught a glimpse of his pursuer reflected in a broken window. A lean man with watchful eyes, moving with the deliberate care of someone tracking prey. Ethan ducked into a narrow alley, then scaled the wall with ease, positioning himself above the entrance. When his pursuer entered the alley, Ethan dropped down behind him, pinning him against the wall. "Who are you?" Ethan demanded. "Zintrex Security?" The man didn't struggle. "If I were Zintrex, you'd already be captured," he replied calmly. "My name is Lucas Wright. I've been looking for you. Ethan Marshall." Ethan tightened his grip. "How do you know my name?" "Because I used to work for Zintrex too," Lucas said, "in the Enhancement virus program, until I discovered what they were really planning and tried to stop it." Slowly, Ethan released him. "Prove it." Lucas straightened his jacket. "You were patient 0 for EV1. Before you, there were 27 other test subjects, all failures. Reeves kept them in sub-level C below the official research floors. The information matched what Ethan had found in the files. "What do you want from me?" "To help you," Lucas said. "And maybe, if you're willing, to help expose Zintrex. They're planning to release a modified version of the virus to the public within months. A version that enhances without the unpredictable evolution you're experiencing, but with built-in limitations and corporate controls." Ethan considered this. His instincts, now sharper than ever, told him Lucas was telling the truth. "I need to know more about what's happening to me. The virus is still changing me." Lucas nodded. "I have a lab. It's not much, but it's off the grid. We can run tests. Try to understand the virus's progression." "And then what?" "Then we stop Zintrex from turning humanity into their corporate puppets," Lucas said simply. Lucas's lab was hidden beneath an abandoned manufacturing plant on the city's eastern edge. The equipment was outdated but functional, cobbled together from salvaged components and black market medical technology. "This was the best I could manage after Zintrex froze my accounts and erased my credentials," Lucas explained as he prepared to draw blood samples from Ethan. "But it should be enough to give us some answers." Over the next few days, Lucas ran a battery of tests while Ethan's condition continued to evolve. The changes were becoming more profound. His muscle density had increased to the point where conventional needles could barely penetrate his skin. His neural activity was off the charts. Most concerning, he was developing abilities that defied scientific explanation, like the ability to perceive electromagnetic fields or influence electronic systems with his mind. "The virus is adaptive," Lucas explained, studying the results of a genetic analysis. "It's not just enhancing your existing DNA, it's incorporating new genetic sequences, possibly drawing from dormant evolutionary pathways." "Ew, is it killing me?" Ethan asked bluntly. Lucas hesitated. "Not exactly. It's changing you at such a fundamental level that the question becomes philosophical. Are you still Ethan Marshall, or are you becoming something else entirely?" Before Ethan could respond, an alarm blared from Lucas's security system. Surveillance cameras showed armed figures surrounding the building. "Zintrex Security," Lucas said grimly, shutting down his equipment. "They've found us." Ethan moved to the window, his enhanced vision picking out details in the darkness. These weren't standard corporate security forces. They wore military-grade combat suits and carried weapons designed for maximum lethality. "They're not here to capture me," Ethan realized. "They're here to kill me." Lucas nodded grimly. "You've become a liability they can't control, and evidence they need to eliminate." "We need to get out of here," Ethan said, already calculating escape routes. "Is there another exit?" "Maintenance tunnel in the basement," Lucas replied, gathering critical research data onto a portable drive. "It leads to the old subway system." They had just reached the basement when the first explosions rocked the building. Zintrex wasn't taking chances. They were leveling the entire structure. "Go!" Ethan shouted, pushing Lucas toward the tunnel entrance as debris began to fall around them. "I'll hold them off." "That's suicide," Lucas protested. "Trust me," Ethan said with a grim smile. "I'm harder to kill than I look." Reluctantly, Lucas disappeared into the tunnel. Ethan turned to face the approaching strike team. He could hear them moving through the upper floors, their communications crisp and professional. They were well-trained, well-equipped, and had one objective: eliminate Patient Zero. Ethan felt a strange calm settle over him. The virus had prepared him for this moment. As the first operatives reached the basement, he moved with blinding speed, disarming the lead soldier and using his weapon against the others. Non-lethal shots, legs, arms, designed to incapacitate. Despite everything, Ethan couldn't bring himself to kill, but there were too many of them, and they adjusted quickly to his tactics. A barrage of fire forced him behind a concrete pillar. The structure groaned around him as more explosives detonated on the upper floors. Then something unexpected happened. As the danger escalated, Ethan felt a new transformation begin. His skin hardened, taking on a texture like flexible armor. His vision shifted, allowing him to see heat signatures through walls. His muscles tensed with power he hadn't possessed even minutes earlier. The virus was responding to the threat, accelerating his evolution to ensure survival. When the next wave of operatives approached, Ethan was ready. He moved like a phantom, neutralizing them with precision and speed that seemed impossible. Bullets glanced off his transformed skin, leaving only minor wounds that healed almost instantly. By the time he reached the tunnel entrance, the building was collapsing behind him. He sprinted through the darkness, his enhanced senses guiding him, until he caught up with Lucas a mile into the underground network. "My God," Lucas gasped, seeing Ethan's altered appearance. "The virus, it's progressing faster than I imagined." Ethan looked down at his hands, watching as his skin slowly returned to a more human appearance. "It responds to threats, adapts me to survive." "Yeah, this changes everything," Lucas said. "Reeves couldn't have anticipated this level of mutation. The virus isn't just enhancing you, it's turning you into a completely new evolutionary branch." They continued through the tunnels until they reached an abandoned station. There, Lucas revealed his contingency plan, a hidden cache of supplies, communications equipment, and new identities. "We need to contact Jennifer," Ethan said as they sorted through the resources. "She might not know the full extent of Reeves's plans." Lucas looked skeptical. "Can you trust her?" Ethan paused, considering. "I'm not sure, but she's brilliant. And if she's being manipulated by Reeves, she deserves to know the truth." Using Lucas's secure communication system, they sent an encrypted message to Jennifer's private channel, a code they had developed during their research days that Reeves wouldn't recognize. The message was simple: coordinates for a meeting, and 2 words that would convince her it was really from Ethan: Patient Zero. The meeting location was a disused observation deck on one of the city's older skyscrapers, public enough to discourage an ambush, but isolated enough for a private conversation. Ethan arrived early, his senses scanning for any sign of a trap. Jennifer came alone, though visibly nervous. When she saw Ethan step from the shadows, she gasped. "You're alive," she whispered. "They told us you died in the fall." "Reeves lied," Ethan said simply. Just like he lied about the virus, the previous test subjects, everything. Jennifer's expression clouded. "I've discovered some disturbing files since you escaped, about the program's true purpose." She hesitated. "I thought we were helping humanity evolve, But Reeves is planning to create controlled enhancements, genetic modifications that can be activated or deactivated by Zintrex's proprietary compounds. Biological DRM, Ethan said bitterly, ensuring they maintain control of the enhanced population. It's worse than that, Jennifer continued. The public version of the virus includes genetic markers that make recipients susceptible to influence through specific chemical triggers. Potential mind control. Ethan felt a chill despite his regulated body temperature. And what about me? What's happening to me doesn't follow their blueprint. Jennifer studied him with professional curiosity. You were supposed to be the prototype for the controlled enhancements, but something in your genetic structure caused the virus to behave differently. Instead of enhancing specific traits according to Zintrex parameters, it's enhancing your entire genome according to evolutionary pressures. You're becoming what humanity might evolve into naturally over thousands of years. And that's why Reeves wants me eliminated. Ethan concluded. I'm proof that evolution doesn't follow corporate guidelines. Jennifer nodded. He's accelerated the program's timeline since your escape. The first public release is scheduled for next month, marketed as a health optimization treatment for the elite. Once they prove it's safe, they'll expand to broader markets with different levels of enhancement based on what people can afford. Creating a biological caste system, Lucas said, emerging from his hiding place. Jennifer startled, then recognized him. Dr. Wright, they said you were dead too. Zintrex says a lot of things, Lucas replied dryly. Ethan paced the observation deck, his mind processing information at incredible speed. We need to stop the release. Expose Zintrex before they can implement their plan. How? Jennifer asked. Reeves has the board's full support. The marketing campaign is already underway. And they've painted you as a dangerous mutation, a cautionary tale of experimentation gone wrong. Then we give them a real cautionary tale, Ethan said grimly. We hit them where it hurts, their main research facility, where they're manufacturing the public version of the virus. That's suicide, Jennifer protested. The security there is impenetrable. Ethan smiled, his eyes briefly flashing with that strange golden light. Nothing is impenetrable to me anymore. They spent a week preparing for the assault on Zintrex's main research facility. Jennifer, now committed to their cause, provided crucial inside information, security protocols, guard rotations, and most importantly, the location of the virus production labs. Meanwhile, Ethan continued to evolve. Each day brought new abilities, new transformations. He could now manipulate his body's density, allowing him to become nearly weightless or incredibly heavy at will. His mental capabilities expanded to include perfect recall and accelerated learning. He mastered complex security systems in hours instead of weeks. Lucas documented these changes with a mixture of scientific fascination and growing concern. The rate of mutation is increasing, he told Ethan after one examination. Your DNA is becoming less and less human. Do I have time to stop Zintrex before? Ethan left the question unfinished. Lucas shrugged helplessly. I don't know. We're in uncharted territory. The night before their planned infiltration, Ethan stood on the roof of their hideout, staring at the distant Zintrex tower gleaming in the moonlight. He could feel the virus working within him, reshaping him cell by cell. Sometimes, in quiet moments like this, he wondered if anything of the original Ethan Marshall remained, or if he was merely a vessel for something new being born. Jennifer found him there, her footsteps tentative. Lucas told me about the acceleration, she said softly. Are you sure you want to go through with this? Ethan turned to face her. In the darkness, his eyes glowed with an inner light. What choice do I have? Even if I ran, hid myself away from society. Zintrex would still implement their plan. Humanity would still be divided, controlled. You could live, Jennifer suggested. Whatever you're becoming, it might be beautiful in its own way. Ethan smiled sadly. Maybe, but I'd be alone, the only one of my kind. He looked back at the Zintrex tower. No, this ends tomorrow, one way or another. The infiltration began at dawn. When the facility's day staff was arriving, Ethan moved through the security checkpoints by temporarily altering his appearance to match authorized personnel, another new ability that had manifested just days earlier. Jennifer and Lucas coordinated from a secure location, guiding him through the facility's maze-like interior using stolen security credentials to access the building's systems. The main production lab is on sub-level 5. Jennifer's voice came through the tiny communication device in Ethan's ear. You'll need biometric access from someone with alpha clearance. Working on it, Ethan replied softly, tracking a research director through the crowded atrium. When the man entered a private elevator, Ethan slipped in behind him, moving too quickly for the human eye to register. The director never saw what hit him, a precise strike that rendered him unconscious but unharmed. Ethan pressed the man's palm to the scanner and held his eye open for the retinal verification. The elevator began its descent. Sub-level 5 was eerily quiet compared to the busy upper floors. Clinical and sterile, it housed the heart of Zintrex's operation. Through reinforced glass walls, Ethan could see row upon row of production units, each synthesizing the modified virus for public release. I'm in position, he reported, preparing to upload the evidence and destroy the production line. Be careful, Lucas warned. They've upgraded security since we planned this. New heat sensors, motion detectors. I see them, Ethan cut in. His perception had expanded yet again. He could visualize the invisible security grid covering the room. I can navigate through the gaps, moving with inhuman precision. Ethan made his way to the central control station. He inserted the data drive containing all their evidence, the files on previous test subjects, Reeves's true plans, the mind control potential of the modified virus. The upload to global news networks and regulatory authorities would begin automatically. Next came the destruction phase. Ethan had planned to sabotage the production equipment, but as he studied the facility, he realized there was a more elegant solution. The virus samples themselves were kept in a temperature-controlled environment. If he could raise that temperature just enough, he placed his hands on the environmental control panel, focusing his newfound ability to influence electronic systems. The temperature began to rise. Ethan, we have a problem. Jennifer's urgent voice came through the comm. Reeves is entering the building with a full tactical team. They know you're there. How long until the upload completes? Ethan asked, watching the progress bar on the terminal. 3 minutes, Lucas replied. But you don't have that long. They're overriding the elevator controls, sending teams to your location. Ethan made a quick decision. Lock down the facility. Use Jennifer's credentials to seal every door between here and the surface. That will trap you down there with them, Jennifer protested. I know, Ethan said calmly, but it will buy time for the upload to complete. He could hear the security teams now, their boots thundering down emergency stairwells, their weapons being primed. The temperature in the virus storage units continued to rise. Soon, the entire batch would be rendered inert. The first security team breached the laboratory doors just as the upload reached completion. Ethan turned to face them, his body already beginning to transform in response to the threat. Stand down, the team leader ordered, raising an advanced-looking weapon. You're surrounded. Marshal! Ethan raised his hands slowly. It's too late, he said. The evidence is already being broadcast worldwide, and your virus stockpile is being destroyed as we speak." A slow applause echoed through the lab as Dr. Reeves pushed through the security team. "Impressive," he said, studying Ethan with clinical interest. "You've exceeded every parameter we established. The adaptability, the rate of mutation. You're a breakthrough. Ethan, just not the one we intended." "It's over. Reeves," Ethan said. "The world knows what you were planning." Reeves smiled thinly. "Is it over? Do you really think the public will side with a mutating aberration over a respectable corporation offering controlled enhancement? They'll fear you, Ethan. They'll see you as proof that unregulated evolution is dangerous, unpredictable. You've just made our case for us." The realization hit Ethan like a physical blow. Reeves was right. In his current form, increasingly inhuman, increasingly powerful, he would be seen as a monster, a cautionary tale. The very thing that made him free from Zintrex's control would make him a pariah to humanity, even if the current batch is destroyed. Reeves continued, "We have backup facilities. The program will proceed, perhaps with some rebranding. And you, Patient Zero, will serve as our perfect boogeyman. What happens when enhancement isn't properly regulated?" Ethan felt a surge of anger unlike anything he'd experienced before. The virus responded, accelerating his transformation yet again. His skin hardened, his muscles tensed, his senses sharpened to painful acuity. He could feel power building within him, raw and uncontrolled. The security team backed away, raising their weapons. "You see?" Reeves said, remarkably calm despite the transformation occurring before him. "This is what humanity fears, the unknown, the uncontrolled. You're proving my point with every mutation." Through the rage, Ethan recognized the truth in Reeves's words. Violence would only reinforce the narrative Zintrex wanted to create. He had to find another way. With immense effort, he pulled back from the edge of transformation, forcing his body to return to a more human appearance. "You're wrong," he said quietly. "Humanity fears what it doesn't understand, so I'll make them understand." Before anyone could react, Ethan moved to the central terminal and initiated a facility-wide broadcast. Every screen in the Zintrex building, and through Jennifer and Lucas's hacking, screens across the city, suddenly showed his face. "My name is Ethan Marshall," he began, his voice steady. "I was Patient Zero for Zintrex's enhancement virus. What you're seeing is the unfiltered truth about their program and about what's happening to me." He explained everything, the previous test subjects, the planned biological control mechanisms, the attempt to create a genetically divided society. As he spoke, he allowed his appearance to shift subtly, demonstrating his evolution while remaining recognizably human. "Evolution doesn't follow corporate guidelines," he continued. "Life finds its own path. Zintrex wanted to control that path, to own human enhancement. But enhancement without freedom isn't progress. It's just another form of slavery." Reeves signaled frantically for the security team to cut the broadcast, but Ethan's influence over the electronic systems had grown too strong. They couldn't break his connection. "I'm changing," Ethan acknowledged to his global audience. "Becoming something new, something that wasn't planned or controlled. And yes, that's frightening, to me as much as to anyone. But it's also miraculous. It's evolution happening in real time, unbound by corporate interests or profit margins." He could see the impact of his words on the security team's faces. Doubt, consideration, even sympathy replaced the fear and determination of moments earlier. The choice before humanity isn't between safe, controlled enhancement and dangerous freedom. Ethan concluded, It's between authentic evolution and corporate manipulation. Choose wisely. With that, the broadcast ended. For a moment, silence filled the laboratory. Then Reeves found his voice. "Arrest him!" He ordered the security team. "Now!" But the team hesitated. Looking between Reeves and Ethan, the leader finally lowered his weapon. "Sir, I think we should wait for further instructions from the board." Reeves's face contorted with fury. "This is insubordination! He's a threat to everything we've built!" "No," Ethan said quietly. "I'm just the first of what comes next. Evolution doesn't ask permission. Dr. Reeves, it doesn't follow business plans or market strategies. It just happens." In that moment, alarms began blaring throughout the facility. The virus storage units had reached critical temperature. In minutes, the entire production batch would be neutralized. "It's over," Ethan said, turning away from Reeves. "Your version of the future ends here." Reeves lunged unexpectedly, pulling a concealed weapon from his coat. "If I can't control you, no one will study you," he snarled, firing directly at Ethan's heart. Ethan felt the impact, felt the projectile penetrate his chest, but instead of pain, he felt a strange sensation as his body instantly began adapting, isolating the foreign object, healing around it. He looked down at the wound, already closing, then back at Reeves. "You still don't understand," he said, softly. "I'm not your property. I'm not your experiment. I'm what comes next." With that, he turned and walked away, past the stunned security team, toward the exit. No one moved to stop him. In the days that followed, Zintrex's stock plummeted as investigations were launched worldwide. Reeves was arrested, charged with multiple violations of ethical research protocols, human experimentation laws, and corporate fraud. Jennifer and Lucas came forward as key witnesses, providing irrefutable evidence of the corporation's true intentions. But Ethan Marshall disappeared. There were rumors, of course. Sightings of a man with golden eyes helping disaster victims with impossible strength. Stories of a mysterious figure who could heal the wounded with a touch. Reports of someone who moved too fast to be photographed, appearing where help was most needed and vanishing just as quickly. 6 months after the Zintrex incident, Jennifer Chen received an encrypted message on her private channel. Coordinates, a time, and 2 words, Patient 0. The location was a remote mountain peak, far from civilization. When Jennifer arrived after an exhausting hike, she found Ethan waiting for her, silhouetted against the setting sun. He looked almost human, but there was an otherworldly quality to his movements, a subtle glow beneath his skin. "You're still changing," she observed after they had greeted each other. Ethan nodded. "Every day, new abilities, new perceptions. Sometimes I feel like I'm shedding humanity like an old skin." He smiled sadly. "It's why I had to leave. I don't belong in society anymore." "Are you lonely?" Jennifer asked. "Sometimes," he admitted. "But I'm not alone. There are others like me now." "Others?" Jennifer's scientific curiosity was immediately piqued. "How is that possible?" "The virus didn't die with Zintrex's program," Ethan explained. "It lives in me, and it's evolving too. I've found people, volunteers who understand the risks, who wanted to share this journey, a small community, hidden from the world until humanity is ready to accept us." Jennifer absorbed this information slowly. A new species, branching off from Homo sapiens. "Perhaps," Ethan said, "or perhaps just the next step in human evolution, happening faster than anyone anticipated. Either way, we're not following anyone's guidelines but nature's own." He turned to gaze out over the valleys below, where cities glittered in the gathering darkness. Humanity will have its chance at enhancement eventually, but it should come naturally, as a choice freely made, not as a product to be purchased or controlled. And until then? Jennifer asked. Ethan smiled, his eyes reflecting the stars that were beginning to appear above them. Until then, we evolve, we learn, we prepare, because sooner or later, humanity will have to face what comes next. As the night deepened around them, Ethan's form seemed to shimmer slightly, as if he existed partly in this world and partly in another. Jennifer realized she was witnessing evolution in action, not over millions of years, but right before her eyes, and it was both terrifying and beautiful.